two guys are some of the younger grandchildren in the family. Our family has told this story for many, many years. And when my kids were little, and your father was one of my kids, at Christmas time, all the kids would say, Dad, Granddad, tell the Christmas tree story. So we sat around the table and I told the story. And it's a story from my childhood. Can you believe it? I was a child once. And many, many years ago. So we told the story and everybody enjoyed it. And as the years went on, each year we'd add a little bit to it and the story would grow. But it was all true, all part of what happened in our lives. When I was a young boy, now 15 years old, now to you that seems old, but I was still just like a teenager. Our country, the United States of America, the country, was at war. I don't know if you've ever heard of World War II.
Yeah.
World War II was going strong. And we had to give up stuff because our country we couldn't get butter, we couldn't get a lot of stuff like silks and stuff, you couldn't get tires for your cars because they were all being used for the war. So things were in short supply. Well, Christmas 1944 came along and it snowed. We had big blizzards all over the place. It snowed in Europe, it snowed in the United States. So that when they cut down the Christmas trees for Christmas, they couldn't get them to us. They were way up in the woods. All the trains were taken up by shipping munitions. All the trucks were taken up. There was no way for these trees to get to us. The few that did, up on Woodland Avenue where I live, they were, you know how they sell Christmas trees on the corner?
Yeah.
The dads went up there and they bid prices. They bid the prices up, so the Christmas trees became very, very expensive. Not only that, there weren't enough of them. So that some families that year were not going to have a Christmas tree. We figured, oh, how could you have Christmas without a Christmas tree? Well, I was working in a little job at the post office, and my father was working at his job. And it came time for Christmas, we didn't have a Christmas tree. And we figured, well, we'll get one somehow. We'll find a Christmas tree. And there was no tree. And it was a bad year because it was a year in which my mother died. Now, you don't know what that's like, but that happened. So she wasn't there to make sure we got a tree like she would have been. Christmas Eve came along, and my brother and I were out on our bikes all over the neighborhood looking for trees, and we couldn't get one. We were so sad not to have a Christmas tree. Because every year we had a big, beautiful tree in our house. This year, we probably wouldn't have one. So I remember coming home that night, and my father wasn't home. Where was he? Well, he was over at church going to confession. Now, you don't have any idea what that is, but go to church and tell God you're sorry for your sins. And he went over to church and he said to the priest, Father, it's Christmas Eve. My wife died this year, and I've got these 6 kids at home, and we don't have a Christmas tree. And the priest said, John, we can't let that happen. He said, come with me. And they went outside the church, and on the steps of the church were these huge trees, which were there as decorations for the church. The priest said, take one home. He took the tree and he carried it all the way. And the tree was so heavy, he couldn't lift it. And we're at home saying, where's Dad? He said, confession, what's he doing there? Why didn't we get a tree? We were all very, very sad. Suddenly, my sister Eileen said, here comes Dad up the street, and he's carrying something. A huge Christmas tree. Oh, God, we were so happy. The tree was big enough that we could cut off a piece for Nancy up the street. We cut off a piece for Grandma Moran, my grandmother. And we all shared this beautiful Christmas tree. And that house has had Christmas trees every year since. And it's had a lot of families, but we'll never forget that year when we got the Christmas tree when we thought we weren't going to have one. So that's the family story of the Christmas tree, the big Christmas tree. And it was a scary year and it was a sad year until that Christmas tree came down the street. Okay? Now, you guys can ask me whatever you want. Get your list.
Who in the family told you this memory?
Nobody, I lived it.
Okay.
See, I didn't have to be told. It was part of my life.
Where was the relative living at the time? Where were you living at that time?
Philadelphia.
Okay.
We lived in a little row house in Philadelphia, but it was a big house though.
Alright, so when did the event happen?
Christmas, 1944.
And tomorrow's 2006.
Right.
1944?
44.
Alright, 40.
62 years ago.
What triggered this memory?
You know, it really doesn't have to be triggered. It's part of me.
Alright.
Christmas. Put Christmas because we think about it every Christmas time.
Alright.
About the year we almost didn't have a Christmas tree. If you can imagine such a thing. Because, you know, trees are all over the place now.
Yeah, because there's a tree.
They are, yeah. But, you know, Christmas trees are on the corner. They have loads of them. Got a Home Depot that has loads of them.
Okay. What was the world like when you were born?
When I was born, how much do you want to know? I was born in 1929, and that might seem like forever ago, but when I was born, suddenly things got tough for lots and lots of families. The baddies lost their jobs, where people suddenly became very poor, and they didn't have enough money to buy food and stuff. So that's what it was like. It was all during the 30s, right up to 44 when the war started. There was a little more money then, but people were very poor back then.